guys, this is Ryan and Ryan with the Marketing Management and Money Podcast. For those of you who are just tuning in, we hope you enjoyed today's episode. For those who have been with us a couple weeks now, we hope you like what you're hearing and share it with a friend. Subscribe, share the love. We'd like to get this out to as many entrepreneurs as possible. So this is our shameless plug to say, hey, help us out.
Yeah, right.
And with that, I want to kick today's episode off with a question. Ryan, how you feeling today?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. I'm okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You motivated for today's episode?
Yeah, not really. No.
Oh, so you were lying to me when you said you were doing good.
Pretty much, yeah. What can I say?
All right. So you're not motivated. Why are we doing this then?
No, actually, I'm fine. That's part of the topic of today, right? Let's talk about motivation and how that can be a fickle kind of a beast, right?
Yeah, let's get motivated to get stuff done with our business.
Yeah, motivation is a really interesting topic to talk about with your average everyday person, because if you haven't constantly faced the fight of, man, I got to get up and do something, I got to get motivated, you don't really have cause to question, like, wait, why do I always end up right back where I started, even though I feel like I've been motivated yesterday and weeks before? Sometimes it lasts a couple hours, why, you don't really have that cause to ask that question. Why do I, even though I've been motivated, why do I always end up right back here?
Yeah. So, for those who have tried to put themselves out there to really accomplish something bigger than themselves, that's what we're talking about here is, like, I don't know that I need a lot of motivation to brush my teeth. I can just sort of get it done. That's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Maybe for some of you out there, but for most of us, just
we all have our own demons.
Right. Dragons to slay.
Yeah. Dragon breaths to slay.
Okay. Well, but for something that's really hard, really challenging, and, how do we get it done? And the problem that I have with motivation is you're either motivated or you're not. It kind of comes and goes. But the problem is business doesn't come and go. Like, you can't say to your customers, hey, you know what? I just don't feel like really selling today.
Yeah, man, it's Tuesday. I felt like it was Thursday, and now I'm just like wanting to chill for the rest of the week. So can you guys wait till Monday?
Right. It doesn't work that way. So how do you get motivated? How do you tackle this problem that so many people struggle with?
Yeah. Well, I think we need to dial it back a little bit before we go into how we get motivated. I think there are a myriad of different ways we can do that. We can there are all kinds of different motivational speakers on YouTube or talks or whatever. Watch a video on your favorite sports car. I don't know. Something that's really going to get you like, ooh, yeah, let's go. Mm-hmm. But again, that really only lasts a matter of hours or days or weeks at best. And so is that really what we're striving for?
Yeah. I'm just going to put it out there. Motivation sucks.
Yeah, motivation really does. It super sucks.
Like, if you're waiting to be motivated to get something done, you're not going to consistently get it done.
For me, it's always kind of been this temptress, right? Like,
okay.
I like, oh man, I'm motivated. I want to do things. And then it's like, I'm not motivated and I'm trying to get that. And I'm trying to, I'm waiting for that next hit, that next bump, that next whatever. I totally sound like a drug addict right now. but that's how it is. And it's not until I get that I'm like, okay, now I'm going to do something. Right. Mm-hmm. But that's where motivation really sucks. And that's why I say it's a temptress, is because for me, that's a total distraction. Yeah. It's this really amazingly well-guised version of a distraction to me. Right. Yeah. Like, even though it's this positive thing, and I'm not trying to say like I'm a pessimist and there's only a half glass or glass half full kind of a deal. Right. But to me, it's a matter of being real. Like, motivation, in times where I can be disciplined and I feel like that bump just chances into my life, then I can use it, right? Use it appropriately within that realm of my discipline. But outside of that, it's just a distraction from what I should be focusing on, which is the discipline side of things, right?
Yeah. Super interesting. So I'd like to share an experience that I had that kind of ties in with what you're talking about, because you're starting to bridge this, this connection between motivation and discipline, and saying, wait a second, motivation sucks, discipline gets results. And I'm actually using that phrase from a good friend of mine. He's a strength and conditioning coach, and he was working with me. I was going to the gym, and it was cool, staying in shape and all this kind of stuff.
How many people are motivated January 1 to go to the gym?
Yeah, exactly. And so, I go to him and I'm like, hey, I know you're really good. And he is really good at this. He actually helped a guy break a world record in powerlifting. And I'm just like, dang, that's pretty impressive, right?
Yeah.
And so, I go to this guy and I'm just kind of talking with him. And I'm like, would you mind helping me out in, getting a workout plan put together? And so he puts this plan together, and I start doing it for, probably a couple weeks, maybe a month, something like that. And I go back to him and I say, hey, how long do I just stay on this plan? He's like, honestly, I just sort of put you on the plan to see if you'd even stick with anything. Like, it was like an off the shelf, probably just, he's giving that out to, every person.
Google's
who's like,
workout plan for my friend.
Yeah. He's like, everyone's coming to me asking me, how do I work out? And he's probably just like, here you go. And then he said, now that I can see that you're actually going to put some effort into this, I'll tailor your plan. And I'm like, cool, I appreciate that. But as we were talking, he's like, so many people, when they go to the gym, they're trying to be motivated to go to the gym. And he said, but motivation sucks. Discipline gets results.
Yeah.
And it's this idea that if I wait until I'm motivated, I'm never really going to do anything. I just got to get it done regardless.
Yeah, right.
And that's what we need to do in our businesses, is we've got to get it done regardless. Now, there's nothing wrong with being motivated, but we've got to have that discipline. So let's take a minute now in this segment of the episode, and I want to kind of frame in what it means to be disciplined as an entrepreneur. Because everyone's like, oh yeah, I'm disciplined. I'm ready to get this done. What does it mean to be disciplined as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think in most things, it's not really as critical if you get out in your wood shop and finish that bench that you've been working on for the last 6 months.
Yeah,
but as an entrepreneur, it's like, man, I want this to be my living, right? Like I want this to be my legacy, or I want this to be something I could pass on, or I'm trying to make my marketing work.
Myself.
Or,
I gotta pay the bills.
Yeah, right. And so it's a little bit of a different beast. So as an entrepreneur, it's a little bit more critical, and that's where I don't think we can wait for motivation. That's where I don't think we can allow motivation to be that distraction, because you got to get things done, right?
Yeah.
So a key aspect of that for me, what I've found is, and to me this is almost cliche, but if being positive is definitely a way to drive those results, right?
Okay.
If I feel like I'm looking forward to things, looking forward to the tasks that I have at hand, if I can find the good things in them, then it's a lot easier to dive in and start. And then for me, once I get started, it's a lot easier to finish that task, right? There's this psychological barrier though of, I want to procrastinate that. I don't want to do that. That sucks. Oh, I would way rather be hanging out with my kids, or I'd way rather be going to bed right now, or
watching a movie,
or watching a movie about the Italian mob. But there's that hurdle, right? And so for me, in getting over that hurdle, if I can find the positive in what I'm about to do, it helps me get started, right? And then once I get started, it's a lot easier to finish that task because I'm in the middle of it. And that's where I find, like I talked about, when motivation kind of sneaks in as I'm finding myself disciplined, I can use that. And in those moments where it's like I've already started, I see the value of the task and I'm creating something, I'm doing something, that motivation kind of sneaks in. And then again, I can use that to to follow through to get it done.
Yeah, yeah. And so you've called this positive. I actually would frame it in kind of some different terminology, and you use the word that I would use, and that's procrastination.
Yeah.
When you're talking about being positive and, just getting things done, and I look at it, I'm like, okay, you said don't procrastinate. I think there's this, well, let me even back up a step. It is known that procrastination will kill the success of your business. Like that's it. It's like smoking. It is known that smoking is going to damage your lungs.
Right.
No one, even smokers, they're not going to debate this. They're going
I
to
mean,
be
no,
look,
it's good. It's healthy, right?
Look, I do this because I enjoy it, not because it's good for me, right? Well, the same thing with procrastination is people who are procrastinating, they're not sitting there trying to be like, oh, yeah, this is actually a better way. This is a better lifestyle. The procrastination lifestyle is really the way to go.
Yeah.
Like, no, you've got to get that procrastination out of your life. And you've got to recognize it, and you've got to make sure that you're just killing it. You're nipping it in the bud and making sure that you are not procrastinating, because that is one of the biggest killers of your success. And, it's the discipline. It's not the motivation. Motivation doesn't kill procrastination. Discipline kills procrastination.
Right.
So one other one that I really want to cover, when I was heavily involved in a lot of business consulting, and I would work with all of these startups and these entrepreneurs, and and especially the startups, this one came across my desk all the time, and that is a lack of respect for the business that you would give to a job. So what I mean is, I had a lot of people that they would say, oh man, I just can't find time, and I would ask them, I'm like, well, okay, you're doing this on the side, right? You have a job. Yeah, I have a job. Okay. Do you show up to your job late? No, man. I'd get fired if I showed up my job late. Why aren't you giving that same respect to your startup? Why aren't you treating your startup like you would a job, where if you don't show up, you're going to get fired? If you don't put in your time, like when you have a job, you can't be, man, I don't feel like it today, and, just not show up, because you're going to get fired. You're going to lose that job.
Oh, yeah.
And people respect that. But when they own a business, I can't tell you how many times someone would come in and I'd say, okay, so, you want to put together a plan so you can get some funding. Right. Here's the layout for a plan. This is what I need you to come up with. Let's meet back in a week. Okay, I got it. And they leave my office. They're all excited. They're going to do this. And then they come back in a week. And I'm like, hey, did you get anything? Oh, yeah, I mean, this week was just busy. And I'm like, dude, you didn't respect your business like you would respect a job.
Yeah.
And there's one more piece on this that I also want to caution against, and that is those around you, especially loved ones, spouses, family.
Oh, yeah.
They oftentimes don't respect your business the way that they would respect a job.
Right.
If you're telling them, hey, I'm going to get on my computer and I'm going to do some work for my business tonight, and they're just like, oh, great, here you go again. But if you're like, I got to work, it's Christmas Eve and I'm sorry I have to work. Oh, that sucks, but we're so proud of you that you're going to your job. But if it's Christmas Eve and you're like, I'm going to work on my business, what, you hate the family? I mean, It's a
why are you trying to avoid us?
Yeah, it's a total different mindset. And so you've got to give the same level of respect to your business that you would to any job.
Yeah. Well, and I think you make some really, really great points. I want to, I'm just going to say it. I feel like it's a little bit harsh, the way that you're presenting it. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but like.
Because I already took that job.
Right. But it's like, you're not wrong. You're right. Like, people don't give it the respect that it deserves, but I don't think people do that intentionally. Right. And me, myself, like this is even something, I mean, obviously, I'm just gonna be honest, this is something that I struggle with a lot still, even to this day. Like, oftentimes I'm like I legit, you're talking about that person coming into your office that week and be like, yeah, we're going to get done. And then like I leave and come back next week and I'm like, I almost didn't come to this meeting because I didn't do anything.
Do anything I said I was going to do.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is like I thought about it every day. I would have thought about it every day that week, or multiple times that in the day, every week or every day that week. And so I mean, from an evolutionary standpoint, you look at, and this might be kind of getting a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to say, whoa, how did we get onto evolution all of a sudden?
We're going to pull it back in, right?
Okay.
From an evolutionary standpoint, like you look at your makeup as a human being, and it's all about like, okay, I'm going to meet my basic needs, food, shelter, sex, sleep, and then you move into like happiness and what does the world mean? And
Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a shifting, right? And in today's day and age, we're kind of in this world where, I mean, really, comparatively to 100 years ago or 200 years ago, like we have everything anybody could have ever dreamed
those
of.
Baseline needs are met.
Yeah, like insanely well met.
Right.
And now we're just trying to trick ourselves like, no, it's not quite met yet. I still need more. You don't. Sorry.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying don't go after the Lamborghini. That's amazing. Please, if you want to get a Lambo and drift that sucker around some track, actually Lambos don't drift, but whatever. Pursue your dreams is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But like we have all these needs that we're telling ourselves that we still need to meet, but in reality, like I think that's part of the problem is like we're trying to say I've got to complete this coursework for my college degree. Like you're a student in college, right? And I use this example because this is where I found myself doing this a lot. But, oh man, I've really got to write this paper or I've got to finish this assignment. And it'll be like 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. And I'm just like, oh, well, maybe just one more show or whatever, right? And again, from an evolutionary standpoint, like there's no need for me under the sun to do an assignment, right? I've got to create that for myself, whether intrinsically or extrinsically. Like, why is it important for me to be able to get this done? And so to tie this back in, we're coming back, don't worry.
Okay.
So to tie this back in, it's like your friends and family, even yourself, like if you don't, like you said, if you don't respect that business, if you don't assign value to it and say like, I'm gonna get this done because it's important to me. It's gonna become a part of my daily routine. I'm just gonna check it off, right? And you don't necessarily need to go from 0 to 100 in terms of getting things done, right?
Right.
But if you can become like a 0.1% better every day in including this in your routine, like that's enough. That's improving the process, and that eventually. I mean, obviously, you don't want to have this take 30 years, but as it becomes part of your routine, I think it becomes accepted also by friends and family, and especially, most importantly, yourself, right? That this is just something you do. So, and you just start to get it done, and so it shifts out of that realm of motivation and into that realm of discipline.
So let me make sure that I got this straight. You like took us on this huge evolutionary path just to say, hey, Ryan, chill out with being so harsh, and as long as they're making improvement, it's okay.
Yeah, basically.
No, some really good stuff that you were covering in that.
Well, my whole point is like success isn't motivation. Success doesn't come from motivation; it comes from discipline, and discipline starts with that 0.1%, right?
And as you were talking about that, I remembered this instance that I had. So I went to a blogging conference in Salt Lake City, and I was there. So
I'm actually really jealous you got to go to that.
Well, okay, here's the funny thing. So first off, I go to this blogging conference, and unfortunately, they don't do it anymore. This was a great conference.
What?
Yeah, they stopped doing it last year.
Why?
And, I don't know.
Weird.
Anyway, I thought it was a great conference.
Yeah.
There were about 700 people that went to it, right? And
great speakers.
Yeah. Well, you had you know, there were about 50 guys there and, you know, 600 plus ladies there. Like it was mommy blogger central, right?
Well,
and
I was going to say, well, maybe it's a great conference. And then you said mommy blog. And I was like, yeah, I feel like a dirtbag.
No. Yeah, trust me, it was not that kind of conference at all. But it was just this nice educational opportunity. But you know, being surrounded by all these mommy bloggers, it was a different perspective for me because I'm looking at this and I'm just like, oh, okay, yeah. I get this, you know. And the interesting thing, so I learned a couple interesting things. Most people there were not successful in the terms of actually making money on their blog. Like hardly anybody was actually making money on their blog. Okay. So, you know, I went to the first year. Okay. And it was kind of just this eye-opener. I'm like, whoa, okay, didn't know what to expect. You know, learned a ton, but felt like I was drinking from the fire hose. So the second year, I kind of went into it with a battle plan. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go back to this conference. I want to learn something. And one of the things I wanted to learn is I wanted to learn who was successful and what made them successful. So I went around and specifically was asking people, I'm like, do you make enough money on your blog that this is at least a part-time income from you? Most people are like, no. And they started kind of pointing out, we're like, well, that lady does. And, you know, they kept pointing to the same people. Uh-huh. And there's this small handful of people that were actually making it in this mommy blogging community. Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, this is interesting. So I went and kind of honed in on these people. And one of them I was asking them, like, okay, what makes you successful? Why are you able to actually make this work when so many other people are just kind of like dabbling in it? They do it, you know, maybe they cover some of their expenses, but they're not really hitting the levels that they want to hit, but you are. And the lady said something that was so just mind-blowing to me. And she said, I'm willing to do things that other people aren't willing to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it was like, okay, you know, elaborate a little bit. She's like, if I haven't hit the blogs that I want to hit, if they're not out, I'm going to push. I'm going to get them out. If I don't feel like my content is good enough, then I'm not going to give up until my content is good enough. Like I'm pushing through. And you know, you could argue, oh, wow, she's super motivated, but she wasn't. She was disciplined. She understood that there were certain things that had to happen, and if they didn't happen, her blog didn't happen. And so she made sure that those things were always taken care of.
Yeah.
And she was successful.
Yeah, and I think that that's part of finding that difference, or I'm sorry, that's part of the difference in the procrastination side of things. If you can start to step out of procrastination, if you can find that intrinsic or extrinsic motivation, like this lady, I'm sure that she had to sacrifice things in order to get that done, but she was able to hold on to some sort of intrinsic or extrinsic value that allowed her to move past that and get things done that she needed to get done, regardless of whether it was like, yeah, I want to do this, you know, or not.
And one of the coolest moments is when you do something that you didn't think you could do and look back and you're like, I just did that.
Yeah.
You know, and that's really, you know, in your business as an entrepreneur, we hope that you guys are getting that moment where you're like, I just did that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just built that business. I just made that sale. I hired that dream employee that I thought I would never be able to get, and they want to work for me. Sure. I just did that.
Yeah, and that's part of that positivity as well. You know, like hanging on to the good things that you do and rewarding yourself for those. So, a lot of what we've talked about, at least from my perspective, has come from different books and things that I've read. If you want to become ridiculously intimidated in terms of discipline, one of my favorite quotes on discipline is "Discipline equals freedom," and it's from Jocko Willink. And like I said, if you want to become incredibly intimidated in terms of discipline, go check out some of his stuff. But there's really good stuff in there. Just know and keep in mind that discipline really does start with that 0.1%. Just show 0.1% of growth in terms of discipline, and then expand on that every day. Be easy on yourself and have fun. Have fun with it. Stay positive and look for all the good things in being disciplined.
Amen, brother.